After making no moves at the trade deadline, we thought that the Chicago Bulls were really destined for the lottery as opposed to the play-in. But right now, they're making a fight for that play-in. But just in case they didn't make it, where would they land? And is this really a good position for them to be in? We're going to break down everything you need to know on this episode of Bulls Digest. I'm your host, Joey Mercer. It's great to be back after a little vacation I had there. And before we get into it there today, I just want to say that there are still 76% of you that watch these videos that are not subscribed to the channel. So if you aren't subscribed, make sure to go down below, join the community, hit that subscribe button. We're going to be doing some fun things here on Bulls Digest in the next little while. So you're going to make sure that you don't want to miss that. Lots to come around the corner. And as the season kind of ticks down and we enter that play-in, regardless what happens, we're going to keep you up to date with the Bulls. The draft is around the corner soon. You're going to want to stay up to date, and this is the best place for you to find out that information. So let's get into the topic that we're going to talk about there today, and that is being 2024 draft outlook. Now, it kind of seemed like we said at the top, that the Bulls realistically were going to be a lottery team. They were going to try to draft somebody out of this abysmal draft class and try to develop them along with some of the other young talent they have. They should have moved some pieces. They didn't do that. So now this is the situation they're in. They've kind of dug their own grave. They solidified what they want to do for the rest of the season. They're going to try to make this idiotic push for a play-in position, and that is really where I stand on it. It doesn't make any sense for them to go towards that, but that's exactly what they've been doing. They kind of have to, and we just kind of need to look towards the offseason as well as probably trying to make some noise in that play-in, and this is exactly where we stand based on this article by Elias Schuster. He comes out saying, the Chicago Bulls draft lottery outlook and how it may change down the stretch. When a team performs poorly, you typically can lean on some draft coverage to raise spirits. The future is always an exciting talking point, and the draft always provides a glimmer of hope. Unfortunately, the Chicago Bulls brain trust rid me of that crutch last season. The Bulls' 2024 first-round pick was destined for the Magic, thanks to the Nikola Vucevic trade. Thank goodness for the Stepien rule, though. Teams are not allowed to trade first-round selections in back-to-back years, if you weren't aware of that, which means obsessing over the draft is back on the table, and what better time to start than the present. So the Bulls having their pick this year, yeah, I mean, that's great and all, but where are they really going to finish? Is it going to be that great of a pick? Maybe not. If they make that play and they could just miss the lottery, and that could this year be a really bad player that they have to try to develop, it could also be a bit of a steal. This draft is kind of up in the air. It seems like a pretty bad one. I've seen it compared to 2000. I don't think it's quite that bad, but definitely not some great top talent for sure. I better live this opportunity up too. The Bulls' 2025 first-round pick currently belongs to the Spurs as part of the DeRozan sign-and trade. So who knows the next time we'll be on draft watch, and that's not good. That's why I want to bring that in there. Elias Schuster, not very happy, and neither am I with the fact that we did give that up in the DeMar trade. Obviously, we got something out of DeMar. Injuries really derailed what was going to happen, not from DeMar, but people around him, such as Lonzo Ball, Zach Lavine, even Caruso in some stretches of time. And now Patrick Williams. But, realistically, DeMar, it's a trade that I probably would do again, but in the future, it's not really helping us. We didn't win anything. We didn't really gain anything, and we're back to square one, essentially, at the end of this year. Next thing we saw was the Bulls' draft position and how it might change. As we inch toward draft season, we should probably first look at which pick the Bulls are projected to land. Considering where the team is in the play-in tournament picture, things aren't necessarily as cut and dry as they could be. The Bulls would be positioned with the 11th worst record in the NBA if the season were to end today. This means they currently have a 9.4% chance to move up in the draft lottery per tankathon, as well as a 2% chance to steal the number one pick. For what's worth, this is the exact same spot the Bulls finished last season, and their pick, which again belonged to Orlando, didn't move up or down the board in the lottery. Now, that doesn't mean that's what's going to happen again. It could move up and down, of course, based on the draft lottery. It's kind of just a flip of the coin, why it's called the lottery. And if the Bulls lose more games, we could get a better pick. Depending on where you stand on this, of course, I mean, the Bulls are kind of a team that I think even if they get past that play-in, what are they really going to do in the playoffs? They're essentially going to have to face the Boston Celtics, and that is not what you want to happen. And that's even if they can get out of that play-in, if they even make it at all. So it's almost better if they were to be in this lottery than try to make something out of this season, as it seems like it's almost gone down the tubes at this point. And Schuster says here, as he thinks it's fair to say the most likely outcome is that the Bulls end up with the number 11 pick, things can still change over the next 10 games. First of all, the Hawks are on the Chicago Bulls' tail, and they sit just a game and a half behind the Bulls for the number 9 spot in the Eastern Conference. If they surpass Chicago down the stretch, the Bulls will see their draft position improve to the 10th pick. This would mean about 14% chance to move into the top 4 and a 3% chance to snag the number 1 overall pick. A significant difference? No, but definitely a notable one. As he says, the 10th and 11th pick could be a difference depending on where exactly the picks stand. A player could fall because of injury worries and so on and so forth, and you could miss out by just one spot, and that could be absolutely crucial. If you hope to see the Bulls improve their lottery odds even further, you might as well ditch that dream. The way the standings are right now, it's going to be really hard for the Bulls to go anywhere beyond the 10th spot in the lottery. The Jazz hold the 9th slot and are 5 games worse than Chicago with only a few weeks remaining in the season. I'm sure Ainge will be watching those odds closely. In other words, winning will not be a priority for him. So yeah, I mean, they're going to definitely try to lose, as you just mentioned, Danny Ainge. The Bulls can't necessarily move down, but if they don't stay above the Hawks, then that could be a decent position for them to be in when it comes to the draft lottery. Now, if they're looking to make some noise in the play-in, it's neither here nor there. It kind of seems like this is where they're going to be. That's what's going to happen. If they're going to win that matchup, who knows? It's going to be a fought-out battle for sure, and we'll have to see how they finish down the stretch in these last about 10 games of the season. If the Bulls were to win the 9v10 game and take down the loser of the 7-8 game, they clinch the 8th seed in the East. Of course, this means they're a playoff team and thus moved out of the draft lottery entirely. To be clear, as far as I understand, nothing would change if the Bulls were to lose in the play-in tournament. Whatever the record would be at the end of the regular season would dictate where their position in the lottery. Put differently, a win over the Hawks in a 9-10 game would not go toward the record deciding the lottery order. The Raptors finished one spot ahead of the Bulls in the regular season standings last year, but lost them in the play-in. Still, Toronto ended up with the 13th best lottery odds compared to Chicago's 11th, and both teams stayed in that spot after the ping pong balls were chosen, which wasn't good for the Raptors all last season. They're really struggling this year after moving a lot of pieces. They're definitely trying to tank, and they do get to keep their pick if it's top 6 this year, and it seems like it's going to go towards that route for sure. Last thing we want to mention here about the Bulls and the draft lottery is dropping off of the lottery ladder entirely is actually the far more likely outcome for the Bulls. While I wouldn't necessarily expect them to end the regular season with more wins than any of the teams in front of them, being the Warriors, Rockets, and Lakers, we have to take into account a play-in tournament victory. So, best case scenario, obviously they win the play-in tournament, unless you're one of those people, of course, that think that they would have better luck in this year's lottery. I do think this is a really bad draft class, so I wouldn't want the Bulls to have a high pick in this one. But then again, in 2025, they don't have a pick at all, so it's kind of like, would you like to get some value of the draft this year, or just pass, try to gain experience for those young guys, make a playoff push? That might be the better situation. It's really hard to say. I'm kind of on two different sides, but maybe the play-in is the right move, where they made no moves at the deadline. This has been your host, Joey Mercer. I hope you enjoyed the video there today. Leave a comment down below. We're going to be sharing some more community posts there that you guys can vote on, give your own say, comment on. Tell us what you feel. Tell us what you want to see in videos. And yeah, there's going to be lots more content coming to here on Chicago Bulls Digest. And this has been your host, Joey Mercer. As always, subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment on the video, and I'll see you all in the next one.